everyone, welcome to the space. Just getting everyone up on stage and setting everything up. I'm very glad to have y'all here. Yes. Hi, Jim. Hey, Terrell, Drake, Jack at, let's see. I'm only missing Chance. Okay, got everyone on stage. That's good. Thanks everyone for being here. Just bear with us while we wait for our last speaker. It's going to be very exciting today. We just launched our app. It's almost surreal, the path and time leading up to this, but today's the day. Uh, just pinging our last speaker. Um, and yeah, let's give it a couple more minutes. See, oh, there he is. Awesome. Also, want to give everyone a chance to trickle in, let's say. People tend to be late for Twitter spaces. All right. Drake, thank you, dude. Thank you for being here. Thanks all the speakers for being here. Um,
Good to be here, Helix. It's a exciting day with the app getting launched, starting to get some volume through it.
right? Um, it's so crazy. Like we've been waiting for this day for so long. Now it's finally here. Um,
I know. It's amazing. And we've still, got some more to do, but it's exciting to start to expose this stuff and get our hands on it.
yeah, 100%. Um, that's what we're doing today. The announcement tweets are going crazy. Everybody's retweeting and quote tweeting, and I'm already seeing a lot of noise on Twitter. So that's great. Um, yeah, super awesome. I think I'll start getting this slowly underway. Um, to the audience, I'm Helix. I've been with MetricsDAO since May, and ever since then, I was hearing about the Metrics app, this and that, and I was very much a rookie. I didn't really understand everything, but at some point, you notice, okay, this is a big deal. And now it's early 2023. Um, almost a year later, and it's a fact. We've launched our app. Um, Incredibly excited. We're going to talk with some people who have conceptualized the app, who have built the app, who've already used the app, and we're going to get their perspectives from all those point of views uh, to get a really clear understanding of what's been driving this, what's behind this, what will change with this app, what you can do with it, and further actions to take. um, to the audience, if you already maybe tried it or checked it out, drop your impressions in the comments if you would. That'd be super cool and super useful feedback to us, and a nice way to make some noise. Um, so yeah, we got a couple great speakers here. See them here up on stage. Chance, Jim, Myers, Drake, they wrote the white paper. Then we got Ed, who built it, or with his team, he built it. Um, then we got Jack and Al Terrell, who are early adopters of the Metrics app. Guys, thank you for being here. I want to give all of you a chance to also give a little bit of background, just like one sentence. What do you do? Just so the audience could get to know you a little bit.
I'll start it off. Hey guys, I'm Jack. I'm an on-chain analyst and the founder of Pine.
Awesome. Thank you.
I can go. I'm Jim. I'm a CTO, co-founder of Flipside Crypto. Been spending a lot of time at Flipside thinking about on-chain primitives, sort of like building blocks that we can use to build protocols. We're going to talk about some of that today and what's kind of been used in MetricsDAO. So super excited to talk about that and really proud of what this team has built. This has been a long time coming. So it's really amazing to see this finally get out there and so we can get some feedback and get it in users' hands.
For sure. Love it. Who wants to be next?
I'll jump in here.
Yes.
My name is Drake. I am on the product team at Flipside Crypto, work with a lot of our protocol devs and application devs. And similar to Jim, excited to be exposing some of these primitives, getting them composed, and having an app that's open. I'm also on the council at MetricsDAO and have been involved there from the very beginning. And I'm going to throw it over to Ed.
Hey everyone, I'm Ed. I'm an engineering leader at Flipside, and for the record, I did not build this app. It took a village. There's 15 people still involved. But I'm really excited to see all the moving parts come together. And now that I've kind of wrapped my head around primitives in the Web3 space, seeing just the future, like seeing this live up to its potential is going to be awesome. I'll popcorn over to Chance.
Howdy everyone. I am Chance, been leading the protocol implementation of labor markets for MetricsDAO, having joined MetricsDAO when we were just 50 people to now. It's been a real journey to see how we can change the way analytics are done in Web3 and general broader space. So really excited to see every step along the way, especially today, finally getting it in users' hands and seeing how everybody breaks it.
And I
Yes.
think I'm the last one left. I'm Lee. I've been doing on-chain analytics for a little over a year, starting as a bounty hunter at Flipside, and now the current project I'm working on is called Spire, focusing on Solana data analytics.
Love it. Thanks, guys. Yeah, as you can see, pretty diverse panel. Really some great minds here and people with cool experiences. So really excited to get into it. Let's do that. I want to start off with Chance, Jim, and Drake. So I think the conceptual phase of this whole product protocol design started with you, um, or at least you wrote a white paper on it that's been a solid foundation. Um, and I kind of want to backtrack a little bit and get into what really set this off. Like, what problems were you seeing in the world that maybe inspired you and gave you the ideas to work on this?
I'm happy to kick off there. I think there's a few different buckets of problems that we've tackled. I can maybe start with speaking about like kind of what inspired us on this. First, the way we think about building this stuff is, we have developed what I called previously like sort of Legos or building blocks, which are essentially just like on-chain primitives, abstractions that can be plugged into build protocols. And so that's where we started with this labor market concept. Sort of what inspired me here was I have a background in economics, and back when I was working more in economics, I was designing experiments and controlled lab environments and stuff in economics, microeconomics, behavioral economics. And when I first started playing around with Ethereum in 2015, I thought to myself, wow, like what is typically designed in a lab, you can now do sort of on a global scale. You can actually program incentives, you can program behaviors. Essentially, you're essentially designing games, but with real world implications. And we've all seen this work incredibly well with capital allocation in, say, DeFi protocols. And the idea here was like, wow, if we could we use those same incentives to determine how people spend their time? So it's essentially labor allocation. And we live in a world where what you work on is typically bound by geography or, say, socioeconomic factors or legacy credential systems. But if those proper incentives existed on chain, you could coordinate sort of mass number of people to come together on a global scale to really solve challenges in a meritocratic way without a central sort of firm at the middle. So that was the sort of kernel that inspired us on labor markets. And I could keep going on that, but I want to also turn it over to Drake and Chance to add some color on how we got here and kind of what inspired us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been an ongoing process, and one that we continue to keep learning from and refining approach. But as Jim said, like seeing these protocols that existed that are primarily, I think we're familiar with financial products and DeFi protocols, and how can we kind of take some of those design patterns and build kind of a modular network coordination system, where, as Jim said, the labor is almost the liquidity in this concept rather than kind of tokens or something that's intangible like that. But being able to do this, being able to design these Lego blocks, put the pieces together, and have these incentives that allow the networks to coordinate together has just been really fascinating, exciting.
I couldn't agree more. And to largely build off Jim here, I think this was much of my appeal to originally Ethereum as well. We don't just have the ability to control incentives, but how and why those are distributed. And that so largely came for MetricsDAO, where we had this situation where we have a ton of passionate analysts participating and being part of bounties, but resulting in a scenario where grading is slow. People may disagree with the grading, or people just aren't generally aligned with a centralized person taking care of the single grading. So having this ability for networks and individuals to coordinate inside those really lowers that barrier and says, if you want to be part of this collective, you can help create that definition of quality and be on both sides of a provider and that reviewer of saying, we know we provide great work in this network.
I kind of bucket it into, I always think about it in like kind of like two groups of problems that we're solving with this. We have the practical problems, which this protocol design, some of it stemmed from the work at Flipside we did, where we were running bounties, and at our peak we had run over 125,000 bounties. It's really hard to scale that, and it's a very manual coordination process, particularly around quality enforcement and payments and getting the right questions through prioritizing. And so, with this protocol design, with this app implementation, it's really the letting go of that manual process and then using those incentives to coordinate. And then I think there's another class of problems it solves, which are more these like bigger picture societal problems, which is like work's typically bound by geography and work is bound by legacy credential systems rather than like, say, like just the highest quality work. And so this is something that really allows anybody to come together to form these markets for different types of problems. And really doesn't matter where you're globally located or kind of what your background is. It allows the best work to rise to the top.
Yeah, I think for me that permissionless aspect was so exciting because in a Flipside bounty program or in some of the more manual MetricsDAO bounty programs, there is a group that's kind of managing that experience for others and moving things through, and that's fantastic. But there's opportunities for us to have more of these coordination structures. Other people could launch their own marketplaces. Networks could almost unionize or market themselves as being the best at a certain specialty. So creating this foundation or arena where all of these networks can kind of come in, use the spaces they desire, coordinate as it makes sense, and really just opening things up is exciting to me.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. I'm hearing a lot of different things. It's tackling different kind of problems. Well, one thing I'm curious about, Jim, you mentioned that, the problem of scaling this whole process, if you do it manually. Oh, well, I think my mic was off for a second. Um,
Yeah, you cut out there for a second.
Oh, okay. I get it. Sorry. Where should I pick back up?
I think we're talking a little bit about the problem of scaling. And I mean, Jim, I'll take this a little bit and love to hear your thoughts. I think that one thing that's exciting about scale and protocols comes through just standardization. Systems that are standardized scale much better than systems that have a lot of one-off or edge case scenarios. So again, like taking this process, figuring out how to cut up the pieces, give ourselves tools to handle different parts of the process, and then put them kind of in concert together in a way that's standardized, ensures that this can scale. Automated distribution of funds, things like that, takes pressure off of the treasury team. So there's a lot of different ways that it helps scaling. But I think for me, standardization feels like a critical one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think there's just things that were done very manually that, like, I mean, payments as an example, payments now built in is, thanks to the work from this team, is pretty seamless. Same with sort of like the review process here. I also think what's interesting about coordination is that coordination is sort of moves from this like super centralized top level thing to being pushed down to the market layer. And so, you could, instead of having essentially one market, which is, if you think about Flipside, what Flipside is running, you could have hundreds of markets, each coordinating themselves. And those markets can be different. You could have a network of experts, say like the Pine Group having their own market, or you could also have sort of subject matter networks as well. And so that I'm excited to see like how people experiment with this to form different ones. But I think it scales much better when that coordination happens at the market level, the focus market level, rather than one sort of central group.
Yeah, that's personally one of the things that I really it blows my mind. I find it so ingenious that a lot of like what was the manual labor for managing this whole process is now kind of pushed to the networks itself. Thereby, it becomes like this, as you called it, I believe, this meta managed network. Basically, this thing that starts running itself. That I just find so ingenious and so cool to see. I want to make it a little bit more uh, concrete for people. So we're gonna start talking about the app in a second, but just to make it a little bit more explicit, right? Let's work off of labor markets that people are maybe already familiar with and contrast it with that. So things that come to mind are like Uber, Fiverr, maybe even an Airbnb. How is this different from that? Just to really paint a clear picture for our audience.
Yeah, that's a great question, Helix. And the huge thing, I think, like exactly building on this idea of coordination, is that powers so many of the awesome benefits that we get out of a protocol, and this being permissionless. With a traditional thing like Uber or Fiverr, you're kind of just left to the storm of saying, hey, go to this specialty or go to this job that you need pretty granularly. You don't have the ability to go to Uber and see, I want to go with this driver because they're going to pick me up in a Ferrari, or they're going to do the best experience I've ever had. You have that with this protocol of saying, I want this specific person, I need this type of work. That's what I'm interested in. So with this collaboration, you get all these things of better work, better quality, more aligned people, and you actually get the work that you came asking for. So overall, there's just less spinning wheels, and everybody gets to have an experience more like what they wanted.
Yeah, I think something that was really important for us, especially with the on-chain product, is having a lot of flexibility. So you can have these situations like Chance is describing where you're seeking out a special group. Maybe I want to go to Lee's group Spire and get some Solana analytics. And I can do that. I can know that I'm going to that group and getting something specific. Or maybe I just want to tap kind of a wider market. Maybe I don't have so much concern about who I'm working with, but having this flexibility pushing that flexibility and that decision making out to the network participants and the operators gives us kind of, again, all this flexibility in how it's implemented.
Love it. So, yeah, Jim, go ahead.
I was just going to add, I think those are great answers. I would also say that you can think about a labor market as kind of like an engine under the hood that's highly configurable, can be used for lots of different use cases. And so, like, if you go back to some of your examples, like Uber, in many ways, like that, like labor markets would essentially be an engine powering that sort of service under the hood with special configuration for that type of, for that type of service. So when we talk about this in the context of MetricsDAO, like, it's really one application of the primitive. There could be others in the future as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's one thing that stood out to me and that I started catching on as I was digging into this. Like, hey, we're operating in analytics, but you could really use this network for any labor, really. Um, yeah, that I mean that speaks to the possibilities of what might come from this. We'll get into those at the end because that's like looking forward a bit. For now, I want to bring Ed into the mix. Ed, you and your team, your village, as you said so yourself, you've been tasked with like turning this theory that we just talked about into practice, right? Um, a big task, I would say. Um, you know, how, how does one go about doing such a task, such a feat?
Yeah, slowly and with a lot of people. Like you kind of mentioned when we kicked off, it took many months to get to this point where we're at today. And it took a lot of people, a lot of hard work over all of those months. Like we started with a lot of the abstract concepts that Chance, Drake, and Jim were just talking through. And turning that into something concrete involved like weeks of back and forth with all of the stakeholders and everyone who was a part of MetricsDAO and everyone who had exposure to Flipside's analytics programs to kind of pull all the puzzle pieces together for like how do we build a MetricsDAO application on top of these primitives. How do we have to construct the primitives and the application to kind of support both of these? And that took weeks. And we kind of broke it down into like, what are the big engineering problems we need to solve to make this a reality? And we came up with 5 and kind of formed 5 pods of people across all different disciplines. And everyone got to work. And we built up like, 5 different microservices independently. And then a couple months ago, did the work to kind of bring everything together and start tying all of the different pillars together. That's where we're at today.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like we talked about this one on one a little bit, and that was like so amazing to me that as an end user, I just see the app and I checked it out. It looks really slick. It looks intuitive. Should be really friendly to use. But on the back end, there are like so many individual moving parts that have to like interact with each other. Um, like, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. And like, don't tell anyone, but I'm not very degen. So we brought in a lot of like Web 2 large service building patterns and techniques to kind of tackle this. And a lot of them are hyper specific. And so like we're using the blockchain to run all of our business rules about what can be done. That's all done in the primitive, right? But we need our web app, to load data from the blockchain. And like that sounds like it should be easy, but it's incredibly complicated. And we have like sorting and filtering in the web app and things like that require us to like load massive amounts of data from the blockchain. And so we kind of put all of those challenges into one bucket and was like, how can we elegantly get data off the blockchain? And that's where our indexer initiative came from. And yeah, I'm not gonna like ramble through all of them. I'm excited to. I don't know if this is the right time, but we went through that exercise multiple times and ended up with like multiple primitives, if you will.
I see, I see. All right, yeah, you said so yourself. It's a process that took months, many people, many stakeholders. Um, can you take us through some of the most challenging parts that really maybe had you stressed out and had your heart rate elevated? And then also like some of the biggest breakthroughs and most joyous moments.
Yeah, so I'll start with the biggest breakthrough, and that was when I think 2 Tuesdays ago, we kind of opened up the beta, and it just worked. Like the bugs came in, and really appreciate all of you for submitting bugs. Please continue to do that. Share your thoughts and ideas and feedback and all that. And like none of them were like systemic critical issues that we had to like drop everything and tackle. And that was like amazing, right? Because we have like 15, 20 people involved in this project. We flipped a switch and like prayed for a second. Everything just kind of fell into place and worked as intended. Is not an easy feat. Like that doesn't happen very frequently in engineering. If you look at other big product launches, we'll have delays, which we did have, and they'll have like a lot of launch issues and day one patches. So it was just incredible work by everyone involved to get to that point. That's what got me the most excited. As for what kept me up at night, I'd have to think on that. I think keeping everyone happy was probably one of the biggest challenges we had, because we're dealing with very abstract concepts here. Like the labor market concept is very abstract, and people have like day-to-day challenges that we were hoping to solve for them. And so bridging that gap required a lot of communication and a lot of like exploring and feedback and conversations that it was hard to get through to get everyone on the same page when there are so many people involved. But I like to think we pulled it off, and there's a ton of potential for us to keep evolving what we built and get everyone what they need.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I don't think your job ends here. It's not like the app is finished, like something like it's not like something like that ever is finished. You have to keep updating it, working on it. What will your team look like going forward from here?
Yeah, so we are not done. That's correct. We have a lot of planned, fairly large features that the team is going to be pushing on, and yeah, we're going to keep pushing on it. I think part of the beauty of this like Web3 primitive approach with labor markets is that it's like open, public, it's out there. And so what I'm secretly really excited to see is someone else like forking our app and building their own UI and experience for the MetricsDAO protocol, because anybody can. But until that day, yeah, we're gonna keep making improvements, adding features. We're kind of revisiting permissions, we're revisiting reward distributions, and a ton of like UI and improvements and other features.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely a work in progress. Uh, Definitely going to see further improvements, new features for the people using it. Um, and yeah, let's get to that. I want to bring these two guys into the mix, Jack and Tyrell. You've been early adopters of the app, the platform. So very happy to have you on here and share your experiences and insights and maybe even like advice for people in this space who might become users as well or already trying it out. Um, yeah, okay, so let's take it back a little bit. So when we reached out to you or when you became aware of the possibility of becoming an early user, um, what did that said about? Like, what was your initial impression or thoughts?
I can start
Uh,
off here. Oh, you go, Lee.
yeah, you go ahead first.
Okay. So, I was working with MetricsDAO for a while. So when I first heard of this idea, I was really excited to kind of get involved. And like for us at Pine, our goal is to like kind of maximize participation and kind of make sure that we're growing our community while maintaining high quality um, submissions and also like peer reviews. And so this app kind of like allows us to do this by allowing us in combination with Badger to like badge different groups of users by their competencies or their achievements. And then anytime that we have like a task or something that we need to get done, we can just break that task down and just kind of allow anybody who has those skills or those achievements to kind of participate in it, which really reduces complexity on our side so that for each different job or task that we want to put out, we don't have to individually like permission it or find people that are specifically good for that job.
Cool. Yeah, and for me, I started getting involved with MetricsDAO about a year ago and working with the Bounty Ops team to help run their traditional bounty program. And using the app simplifies a whole ton of admin processes that like we would normally have to do manually with like Web2 technology. And by doing it all on chain, it helps with handling payments more efficiently. Like basically, you set up the payment once the challenge ends and the submissions are reviewed, the payments can be automatically claimable by the winners. So no like manual processes to approve that. Like once the challenge is created, all those uh, issues have been dealt with in the front regarding payments and who's able to submit. So it as someone organizing a bounty, it makes all the uh, main tasks that need to be handled a lot more efficient and smooth once you get it working.
Yeah, to add on to this, I also work in the treasury at MetricsDAO, and like to kind of get all these payments out on time and to like record everything we do is kind of a nightmare in some situations. So it's definitely like kind of a great thing that we're allowing other people to kind of not have to go through all of those processes and just put money into a smart contract and then automatically have it dispersed out.
It's crazy how like on-chain transactions just makes accounting so much easier. I've spent a lot of time in the treasury pod with Jack and our other teammates over there, and I'm pumped about having on-chain data, immutable data, to track all the payments. It's going to be much, much simpler.
Okay, love it. So what I'm hearing is, um, basically this app or platform, if we want to call it that, um, allows you to organize labor. That's what I'm hearing. You have a collective of Web3 analysts, analytics professionals, um, and this app allows you to simplify or facilitate different processes, whether it's mm, organizing your workforce and putting them into different levels, let's say, and then giving them access to different types of challenges that they qualify for. And I'm also hearing more like admin, backend stuff. So, actually getting everybody paid. Um, is that a good summary?
If I could jump in real quick, Helix, I think like one of the things too around this admin work, like that Lee was kind of speaking to, is in the bounty ops space. Like, there's this process of setting up a bounty and like determining the right incentives, determining who should have access, and it's a pretty complicated process. But we've done it a lot in MetricsDAO. Flipside has done it a lot as well and contributed knowledge to this process and how to do it. But by having this protocol and this app, we now can have these containers, these markets, which just retain these characteristics over time. So instead of maybe needing to set up each bounty each time and figure out what the parameters should be and how should funds be distributed, now we again have these markets, these kind of templates that we can use over and over again. Some markets are going to be more successful than others. It gives us a space to explore the best templatization of those prompts. But again, yeah, the admin work super simplified in my mind. Would love to hear from Lee though, because I think he spent some more time in that space than I have.
Yeah, so I guess the caveat is I have taken a step back a bit right before the launch of the app from handling the bounty ops on the day-to-day basis. So I kind of know what was happening about a month and a half ago, which seems similar to what was run, which is currently happening with the, I guess let's call it the legacy setup. So yeah, like basically setting up and setting up the bounty to actually start, then handling the reviews, then making sure the reviews look correct, then sending that to the treasury for payment. Each of those processes is like a manual step where someone has to go in and check things and then not and then send it to the next step basically. And with the app, that is handled for you basically. Like the set of reviewers is already chosen by whoever is badged, and when you create the challenge on the app, you get to choose which badge holders get to review each challenge, that sort of thing. So there's no like manual process of finding people. It's basically there's a network of people eligible to review, and they are incentivized to do so, and then that process happens in a decentralized manner. So it gets rid of all these steps in the process that would normally take time and effort, and puts it into the hands of the network, I guess. And it allows the bounty ops team to focus on other things like potentially setting up, innovating on new ways to set up challenges, finding other partners and making sure that the partners have good challenges that people want to answer and have good participation from the community and that sort of thing.
I see what you mean. I see what you both mean. So it's not just about, settling payments on the back end after the work is done. It's also actually about more stuff on the front end about setting incentives. But even then, a whole host of like other, you know, things that have to do with bounties, a whole lot of tasks get automated. So yeah, I could definitely see how this is a huge upside to both Jack and Lee as users of the platform. Today we launched. We're gonna have more users to our platform. Uh, Thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, God willing. Um, as like early user of the app, uh, what are what are some thoughts and maybe explicit, like more specifically to those new users coming in? Like, what would you like to say?
I can talk a little bit about this. So, well, I think that there's basically like two types of users who want to use the app: people who like want to get labor done, and people who want to do labor. And I think that, I mean, it's good to just check it out. Kind of, if you want to do a challenge, maybe test it out a little bit, do a small amount of money, kind of see like what works and what doesn't. And then if you're somebody who's wants to like pick up labor, just try to like find a way to like get your work out there and like pick up some jobs on the marketplace and see if you can hone your skills. One thing that I'm kind of really excited about for more and more people to get on this app is going to be like cross marketplace, like badges and stuff like that. Like I think I'm really excited for a point in time when somebody hops onto the marketplace and's like, all right, I want the Pine Champions to kind of do this challenge for me. I think that's going to like really kind of bring this whole thing to the next level, is when like networks start getting acknowledgement and stuff like that, and people are joining the app just to get into contact with these different networks. That's what I'm really excited for.
I could not agree more. I think like Jack and Lee are both examples of networks, in and of themselves. They have access to these networks. They're building them up. They're maintaining them, ensuring that they're producing good work. And this protocol, again, is just this modular network coordination system. So we can imagine like a Spire marketplace where Lee and his team are, executing against all the work that's being asked of them. Jack and Pine DAO can have spaces as well. So uh, seeing, Jack particularly like already kind of using Badger, one of the primitives that supports the protocol, and getting his network built up on there means that network will just plug directly into the metrics protocol, which I think is really cool.
I think some of this, like, to me, goes back to some of the coordination stuff we talked about in the beginning. Like, I'm really excited to see how much growth we can get out of this by having these subnetworks sort of growing their own user base. Whereas before it was sort of MetricsDAO, or in Flipside's case, just Flipside, trying to attract as many analysts as possible. But here we have all these subnetworks that can attract their own user base, which makes the metrics network much bigger.
Okay, I see. So, and to get back to uh, what Jack and Altara are doing, um, to get this right. So if I get this right, anyone can start off their own network of analysts or any type of other labor.
Yeah, so essentially, if we take a step back and think about like how this protocol works, we have kind of these three actor groups that get put in conversation with each other. We have a sponsor network, a provider network, which in MetricsDAO case is analysts, and then a reviewer network. So that sponsor network is permissioned within a marketplace to launch challenges, fund those challenges, and provide incentives to the analysts and the reviewers. The analyst network will come in and provide service, respond to the challenge. The reviewer network will come in and score all of those submissions. But those networks can be different networks. So we use a tool called Badger, another primitive that we've developed to define these networks. And anyone, again, Badger permissionless, anyone could go on there and create their own network. So Jack, this is something that he's done in Pine DAO. They manage a network of a couple different tokens that have different purposes within their system. And within the metrics protocol, we could say, hey, we want to tap Pine Champion network. We can get that data and we can restrict access for one of the network groups in there to be the Pine Champions. So similarly for Spire, we could say, hey, like we only want Spire analysts to be able to answer this. So moving in a direction that, as Jim said, these networks can kind of grow themselves and utilize this foundation to coordinate rather than relying on some sort of central entity to grow, say, a master network. We have more this idea of a bunch of different networks working together. Does that make sense, Helix?
Yeah, totally. The follow-up question would be, what is the specific benefit of having these, only having certain networks having access to certain challenges?
Yeah, I think that kind of gets back to a bit what Chance was saying about like what type of outcome are you seeking when you put out a request for work? Like if I'm seeking Solana analytics, then I'm gonna go seek out someone like Lee or Lee's group versus maybe looking to myself or some other people in my network that are more focused on EVM. So having that specialization available, having these groups that again kind of advertise themselves as specialists and can grow their own communities in their own specialty gives me as a requester some certainty that the network that I'm tapping for my work request is capable of actually delivering on it.
I'd also say, we're talking a lot right now about expert networks, which I think are awesome. There's a whole other world of networks that we're also talking about building. We are onboarding, MetricsDAO is onboarding a bunch of data providers into the DAO. And a lot of those data providers are interested in like, how do we onboard our next phase of users? And there's tons and tons of analysts, probably more analysts that are in crypto that are outside that need an entry point. And I view MetricsDAO as that sort of on ramp into the space for blockchain analytics. And so we're going to have labor markets that are not necessarily to produce like the highest quality outcomes, or rather, maybe that's the wrong word, but not necessarily to do in-depth analytics, but where the point of it is to onboard and teach early users and get them used to using these new tools. And so that would be a different class or different type of labor market that we would introduce.
Yeah, to kind of add on to what Jim was saying, like at Pine, we have like a Pine champion, which is somebody who like won our weekly contest. So they're like, if we need like expert analysis, we'll have them. But then we also have like a group of or a network of like Pine challengers, people who are just like participating in our network. So like if we have some challenge or something where we want to kind of get the most participation possible, do some marketing, or kind of just get the word out about something, then we might permission the contest to our Pine challengers so that like everybody can be involved rather than just like a small group of elite analysts. So I think like it's almost endless like what you can use these different networks for, and there'll be definitely like many different ways that people use them, not just like specifically very skilled people in some certain thing. Like, yeah.
I see what you guys are saying. Okay, so it's partly specialization, and that doesn't necessarily mean better is always better, let's say. But it's more about, okay, what are you trying to achieve? You just need different types of people, different type of networks for different kind of end goals. And the way it sounds to me is that the modularity of this thing we're building here, and maybe the amorphous nature of it, allows such a range of flexibility that you can address all those needs. That sounds really, really cool. Um, so okay, let's start. We kind of started doing this already, but let's let our imaginations run a little bit wild here. We just launched, but we're gonna move this forward and into the future. Like, what do you guys envision? What do you hope to see? What is inspires you and excites you, and do you hope to see for the future of work? Let's say in this app.
I don't know. I could kind of say something about it. I'm like pretty excited to see like a labor marketplace where people are like kind of gated by their abilities rather than where they are in the world or what credentials they have. And I think that this like really opens up the opportunity for people like who are just good at doing stuff to like be able to get paid for what they do rather than being blocked by where they live or what degree they have or something like that.
Yeah, I think.
Um,
Oh, go ahead, Lee.
Oh, I was just going to say it would be interesting to see how this works as a way of decentralized identity of like linking your address to your work on how you are able to complete challenges or do work based on the labor markets that are available and how these networks would basically be able to allow people to trust kind of anon addresses potentially to do their work without basically just spamming everything.
I'm definitely excited about the development and proliferation of these different networks. We have some examples within, the MetricsDAO analyst approach. We have Pine, we have Spire, we have Slice. There's a lot of different groups that are kind of, drumming up their own business and, running into some of the same operational issues that MetricsDAO has had in the past. So giving them the tooling to, expand, scale up, while also building this larger metrics network of all of these sub networks together is very exciting. I think if we really let our imagination run wild, though, it is interesting to think about using this technology in non-analytics work types. So, as Jim mentioned, this is kind of like one implementation of it. This is kind of like the tip of the spear because this is where we have operated in the past. This is the experience and knowledge and the community and network that we have access to. But we really tried to build generalized modular technology that could be used for a bunch of different purposes. And I'm excited to see, different front ends, like Ed said, or different implementations, different usage of modules that are available, and to kind of see how the public takes this and runs with it.
Yeah, I think we have a great kernel of something here, and we all have some use cases in mind for it, and we have some different ways, and we might form networks today, which I think is really interesting. I'm really fascinated by like what will emerge from this because it is so configurable, it is so open. Yeah, I think there's a lot of room to build from here. I think before we get into like what else could these things power, I think there's some low hanging fruit right in front of us of like there's lots of analytics that this could power even beyond just blockchain analytics. I think there's something really special about bringing community together with data that is really just a sort of a special thing that exists in this space that you don't see in a lot of other spaces. So we could really use this to tackle some bigger problems for the world that go beyond blockchain analytics. So I'm excited. We've seen a couple glimmers of that so far. So we'll see what else comes.
I very much echo Jim here of it. If we really try and imagine hard, we can take it anywhere, but I'd also say we've already achieved that. This is crazier than anything we would have imagined 2 years ago in this space of believing we could really do this, and then now to have users coming in giving feedback and saying, hey, it's actually working. That was once our imagination, and now to know we can keep moving forward with honestly a pretty big level of support always makes me happy. So I'm excited for every single piece of it. I'm most excited for people like Jack, like Lee, really getting in there and making it their own. I think that's the whole power of it, where people have the ability to own it and say, this is mine, this is what I want it to be. That's always been really cool to me, and I'm excited to see that continue to play out.
Awesome. Ed, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo what everyone else says. I also like the idea of giving individual contributors, like giving the analysts the ability to impact the evaluation of their work is a really interesting mechanic. And we see that with Fiverr and other services as well. But doing this in such like a decentralized manner is going to be really empowering to the people that are actually like doing the work. I'm excited to see how that all plays out.
Wait, could you elaborate on that real quick? I'm not sure if I got that.
Yeah, so like with our marketplace infrastructure, we're letting people who need work to be done, we're letting them set the price of the work. And so like if I need insights, I can set the budget for it. And if my budget is too low on this open marketplace, analysts don't have to do the work. They can go to other marketplaces and other challenges that are much more fairly compensated for their time and energy. And like once we hit scale, I do expect to see a lot of that in a lot of marketplaces around like experimentation and finding the right valuation of labor. And we just built a framework and a system to like make those negotiations easy, especially for the analysts themselves.
I see what you mean. Okay, I got it. Yes. And if I just, as the host, may add something myself, is what I to echo a lot of what you guys are saying, but even, like my imagination was running wild as I was digging into all this stuff. And like, this is a radically different way of organizing labor than we are used to, like in the 20, in modern time. And it just equalizes everything. I'm not sure if I'm using the right words, but it makes the market so transparent and so much more fair, which it removes all kinds of barriers. And that just makes me incredibly excited to be part of this and to be building this with you guys. Um, yeah, let's start wrapping it up. To close out. Um, talking about the far future, let's talk about the near future. What are some immediate actions that people from our audience, people that are listening today, or maybe if they listen to the replay, could take right now? Like, what are the options, and what do we need?
Well, it looks like there's 3 open challenges on the app right now. So I'd encourage, anyone that's interested in doing some on-chain analytics to jump on there. It looks like each one of these have a prize pool of about 1,500 USDC, and they should be open to everyone. So there's a couple that are closing in the next 2 or 3 days. There's one here that's open until next week, and I would expect to see more volume coming in there, but would love to get more users getting connected, making submissions, participating as reviewers, and giving us feedback.
Yeah, at Pine, we'll be launching our first challenge on the marketplace in the next day or two. So we're excited for that.
Love it. Okay, so there are already challenges up that you can take. Experiment with the app in the process. Maybe even get paid. That'd be nice. Uh, you can check out Pines as well. Um, they'll be running challenges as well. Uh, so okay, already some options. Also, obviously, we still love your feedback. As Ed said, we're gonna keep on building. We're not done. We're definitely not done. But it's definitely a big milestone, and that's an understatement. Um, yeah. Um, if you guys want to know more, check out the comments. I highlighted a tweet at the top. That's a good gateway into more of this stuff. Also posted our docs in the comments, so you can check those out. You can always hop in our Discord to give us feedback or get more information, whatever you want or need. Um, with that, I want to close it out. Uh, I want to give a big round of applause, a major thank you to all of our speakers, Drake, Jim, Jack, Lee, Ed, and Chance. Um, it was so interesting talking with you guys. I wish I could like keep this conversation going for hours and hours over fire over fire and a glass of something nice. Um, God, this is so interesting. Very excited for what the future will bring. Very thankful for you guys, not just being here today and sharing your insights and experiences, but also just the work you've been doing. Just a major big up to you guys. Yeah, if anyone in the audience, please give these guys a follow if you don't follow them already. Uh, yeah, just to stay updated on all of their good work. Yeah, with that, I want to close it out. If anybody has some last remarks that they still want to share, yes, Drake, I see you. Uh, oh no, that was a low wave. Okay. All good, all good. Yeah. If anybody wants to share from the speakers, that take your moment now. And otherwise, we're gonna close it out. Thanks to the speakers, and thanks to everyone being here.
Thanks, Felix. See y'all.
Thanks,
Yeah,
y'all.
thanks
Talk
for
to you
having.
soon.
Thank you.